In the stillness of night, as your body eases into rest, a quieter rhythm begins to surface, one that's always been there, even when you are not aware of it. This is the rhythm of movement, of balance, of support, a slow and silent symphony conducted by the muscles and joints of your body. They ask for no recognition. They move not for applause. But with each breath, each blink, each gentle shift beneath the blankets, they perform their part in a lifelong harmony. Muscles and joints form a hidden network of motion. Every smile, every step, every reach is the result of complex yet quiet cooperation between these tissues. The muscle contracts, the joint pivots, the body bends, extends, rotates fluidly, without thought. And as you lie still now, in this moment of pause, that intricate system gently continues its work. Our bodies are made to move, but not always in bold, dramatic ways. Much of the movement that sustains life is subtle. The muscles of the chest expand the ribcage with every inhale. The tiny joints of the fingers twitch as dreams unfold. Even in deep sleep, muscles stabilize your limbs, maintain posture, and keep you safely balanced in slumber. Muscles, at their essence, are tissues designed to contract. When they do, they pull, never push, drawing 2 points closer together. It's through this pulling that the body achieves motion. Whether lifting a hand to scratch an itch or rising from a seated position, every voluntary movement begins with the silent decision of a muscle fiber shortening, ever so slightly. Joints, meanwhile, are the spaces where bones meet. They are more than gaps or hinges. They are precisely constructed zones of motion and restraint. Joints allow flexibility where it's needed and limit movement where stability must be preserved. From the fluid rotation of the shoulder to the firm hinge of the knee, joints are the portals through which muscle intentions become motion. And all of this, though deeply physical, carries a kind of poetry. Imagine the quiet swing of a child's arm at play, or the effortless grace of a dancer's foot gliding across the floor. These motions are not commanded by loud declarations. They arise from years of muscle memory, from layers of tissue and tendon and bone, working in unison without a single word. Even at rest, there's motion within. Tiny postural muscles maintain your alignment. Diaphragmatic muscles expand and contract, drawing oxygen into your lungs and guiding carbon dioxide back out. These quiet players never stop. Their rhythm continues through dreams, through stillness, through time. To understand the human body's capacity for movement is not just to learn about bones and fibers. It is to appreciate a kind of internal dialogue, a silent conversation between effort and ease. Muscles are never alone in their task. They are always paired with bones, guided by joints, and refined by nerves. Each has a role, each depends on the others, and together they create the physical symphony of life. The beauty of this system lies not only in its function but in its adaptability. Muscles strengthen with use. Joints become more fluid with motion. The more we move, gently and mindfully, the more this system responds not with fatigue, but with quiet resilience. Even when we pause, the framework we have built remains, holding us upright, steady, and ready. And in sleep, the body remembers. It repairs what has been strained. It smooths out tensions and prepares the muscles for another day. The joints soften into alignment, their fluids circulating slowly, bathing cartilage in a quiet bath of nourishment. As you settle into this restful state, let your awareness gently sink into your own body, not to judge or to fix, but simply to notice the weight of your arms, the angle of your knees, the soft alignment of your spine. All are guided by the unspoken work of your muscles and joints. Let this knowledge be a gentle companion, not a lesson to memorize, but a story to drift into, a story of tissues and tendons, ligaments and levers, a story of movement without noise, power without tension, structure without strain. As the body quiets and the mind slows, let this orchestration continue its work. Let the muscles release their grasp. Let the joints find their center. Let the night carry you inward, toward the resting place of quiet motion. And so begins our deeper exploration of how the muscles contract, how the joints bend, and how every movement, no matter how small, is the result of a beautiful, intricate, silent design. Part 2. Overview of the musculoskeletal system. Beneath the skin, beneath the warmth of muscle, and the scaffolding of bone lies a quiet partnership that gives form and function to the human body. This is the musculoskeletal system, a term that brings together two elements, the muscular and the skeletal. Together they provide movement, support, and stability, allowing the body not only to act, but to exist with structure and grace. The skeletal system, though rigid, is far from lifeless. It is composed of bones, over 200 of them, each carefully shaped and positioned. They serve as anchors, protectors, and levers. Some hold the weight of the body, like the vertebrae of the spine. Others provide cradles for the organs, like the ribs encircling the lungs and heart. Some are long and lean, built for reach and stride. Others are compact and curved, designed for strength and precision. But bones alone do not move. They are the framework, the architecture. To animate this structure, the body requires muscles, tissues capable of contracting, of shortening, and of pulling. Each skeletal muscle is attached to one or more bones by connective cords called tendons. And when the muscle shortens, it pulls on these tendons, moving the bones to which they are fixed. Movement, then, is not a solitary act. It is a shared endeavor. Bones provide leverage. Joints allow motion. Muscles provide force. These elements work in concert, not in isolation, so that even the smallest motion, like the curling of a finger or the tilt of a head, is a result of careful coordination between many tissues. The joints where bones meet serve as the flexible bridges of the skeletal system. Some are fixed, holding firm like the seams of the skull. Others are semi-movable, like those in the spine. But most joints are freely movable, allowing the body to bend, extend, rotate, and glide. These are the synovial joints, soft, fluid-filled spaces lined with cartilage and bathed in synovial fluid. Their surfaces are smooth, their movement nearly silent. All of this is held together by a network of supportive tissues. Ligaments connect bone to bone, adding strength and limiting excessive motion. Tendons, as mentioned, link muscle to bone, transmitting the force of contraction. Fascia, thin sheets of connective tissue, wrap around muscles, separating and supporting them. Together, these elements form a soft internal scaffolding that holds the body's moving parts in place. Consider now how even the simplest action, standing up, calls upon the full system. The bones of the legs support the body's weight. The hip and knee joints must bend and extend. Muscles contract in carefully timed sequences, lifting the body against gravity. The nervous system oversees the process, sending signals with quiet precision. The act may feel effortless, but it is anything but simple. The musculoskeletal system is also responsible for posture, that silent alignment we maintain even when still. Dozens of muscles, many of them small and deep, remain partially contracted throughout the day. They don't produce movement, but they provide readiness, stability, and support. These are the postural muscles, working quietly to keep the spine upright and the limbs aligned. And then there is balance, the body's constant negotiation with gravity. When you shift your weight from one foot to another, countless small adjustments occur. Muscles lengthen and shorten. Joints pivot and realign. Bones bear and release pressure. All of this occurs beneath conscious awareness, guided by instinct and refined over a lifetime of movement. Importantly, this system is adaptable. It grows with us from infancy, learning new patterns with each motion. It responds to activity, becoming stronger and more coordinated. It repairs itself, slowly but faithfully. Muscles grow more efficient. Bones reinforce themselves where stress is applied. The body learns and remembers. But the musculoskeletal system also needs rest. During sleep, muscle tissue is repaired, joints decompress, connective tissues hydrate and recover. This is when the quiet work of restoration occurs. The body may seem still, but inside, it is active rebuilding, replenishing, and preparing for another day of motion. As we begin to explore the details of this system in the coming parts, the types of muscles, the kinds of joints, and the pathways of movement we carry with us, this foundational truth, that motion is not a simple act, but a graceful union. It is the meeting of tissue and tension, of support and softness. It is the body's way of expressing life. And so, as you rest now, perhaps you can feel it, the quiet stability beneath your stillness, the muscles that release, the joints that soften, the bones that bear your weight with ease, all working in harmony, without demand or sound, offering you the gentle gift of form. Let this understanding settle into you like breath, slow, calm, and grounding. The body, even at rest, is a marvel of silent strength, and it is this marvel we will now explore further, gently, and one layer at a time. Part 3. Types of muscles: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. As we drift deeper into the quiet world of human movement, we come to the muscles themselves, the tissues that create force, shape posture, and carry us through the subtle dance of daily life. Not all muscles are the same. In fact, the body contains 3 distinct types, each with its own form, rhythm, and role. These are skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle, 3 variations on a single, elegant theme: contraction. Let us begin with the most familiar skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscles are the ones we see and feel beneath the skin. They shape the arms, legs, back, and torso. When you lift a hand, smile softly, or step gently forward, it is your skeletal muscles that carry out the motion. They are named not only for their structure, but for their attachments. They anchor directly to the bones of the skeleton by tendons, allowing them to pull the bones and create movement. These muscles are under voluntary control, which means they move when you choose to move them. A thought, a signal from the brain, a quiet impulse along a nerve, and the muscle responds. This is the domain of intentional action. Look more closely, and you will find that skeletal muscles are composed of long cylindrical fibers arranged in bundles. Under a microscope, they appear striated, striped with light and dark bands, a result of the intricate alignment of actin and myosin, the proteins responsible for contraction. Each fiber contains many nuclei, a reflection of its large and complex structure. These cells do not work alone. They contract together, in unison, producing controlled and coordinated motion. Some skeletal muscles are large and powerful, like the quadriceps at the front of the thigh or the deltoids in the shoulders. Others are small and precise, like those that move the fingers or maintain the curve of the spine. Each is shaped by its task, adapted to its specific role in the orchestra of the body. Now, let us gently turn our attention to the heart and to a muscle that never rests. Cardiac muscle is found only in the heart. Unlike skeletal muscles, it does not respond to conscious thought. It contracts rhythmically, steadily, and without pause, day and night, throughout a lifetime. Each beat of the heart is a quiet wave of contraction, sending blood outward to nourish the body. Under the microscope, cardiac muscle also appears striated, but its fibers are shorter, branched, and connected by special structures called intercalated discs. These discs allow signals to pass swiftly from one cell to the next, ensuring that the entire heart muscle contracts as a unit, a single, synchronized motion with every beat. Cardiac muscle is self-exciting. meaning it generates its own electrical signals without needing external stimulation. This autonomous rhythm is modulated by the nervous system, which can speed it up or slow it down in response to the body's needs. But the heartbeat itself arises from within a steady pulse that begins before birth and continues until the end of life. And then there is the third type, smooth muscle, the quietest of all. Smooth muscle lines the walls of internal organs. It is found in the digestive tract, the blood vessels, the bladder, and the respiratory passages. It moves food through the intestines, regulates blood pressure by adjusting vessel diameter, and controls the flow of air in the lungs. Its work is essential, continuous, and completely involuntary. Unlike skeletal and cardiac muscle, smooth muscle does not appear striated. Its fibers are small, spindle-shaped, and arranged in sheets. They contract slowly and rhythmically, sometimes holding tension for long periods without fatigue. These contractions are often regulated by hormones or by the autonomic nervous system, the part of the nervous system that operates quietly in the background, without conscious input. Consider, for example, the stomach after a meal. As digestion begins, smooth muscle gently churns the contents, mixing food with digestive enzymes. You do not need to think about this process, it unfolds automatically, guided by smooth muscle responding to subtle signals from the body. Together, these three muscle types, skeletal, cardiac, and smooth, create a symphony of motion that spans the entire human form. Each plays its own part. Skeletal muscles respond to will. Cardiac muscle beats with its own rhythm. Smooth muscle sustains the vital processes of life in silence. Though different in form and function, all muscles share a common language: contraction. They shorten in response to a stimulus, and in doing so, they perform work. They are powered by energy, directed by signals, and shaped by use. They remember patterns of motion. They adapt to strain. They carry us through every moment, from the most forceful gesture to the gentlest breath. Even in sleep, all three types continue their roles. Your skeletal muscles may relax, but some, like those supporting the spine, remain lightly active to keep you aligned. Your heart continues to beat, steady and calm, and your smooth muscles keep working, moving air, circulating blood, digesting food, all in near-perfect silence. Let this understanding settle gently within you. The muscles of your body, visible and hidden, are not simply tools of motion. They are living tissues, full of intelligence, memory, and purpose. They work together without conflict. They adapt and endure. They heal and strengthen. And through them, your body finds expression, balance, and life. As you rest now, perhaps you can feel it, the calm presence of muscle beneath the skin, not working hard, not demanding effort, just existing, just supporting, just being. And when we return, we will look more closely into the structure of skeletal muscle from fiber to fascicle and begin to see how this elegant tissue carries out its quiet task of contraction. Part 4. Muscle structure from fibers to fascicles. As we continue our quiet journey through the human body's architecture of movement, we draw closer to the fine details, the intricacies of skeletal muscle itself. Though these tissues might appear simple at a glance, beneath the surface lies a beautifully layered design. Each muscle is not a single solid block, but a bundle of smaller parts, and within those parts, even smaller threads, each playing its role in the gentle act of contraction. Let us begin with the largest visible structure, the whole muscle. Picture a muscle such as the biceps of the upper arm. To the eye, it appears as a single unit, but inside, it is composed of bundles called fascicles, elongated clusters of muscle fibers, wrapped in a thin, glistening sheath known as perimysium. Each fascicle feels like a small cord, firm yet flexible, holding together dozens to hundreds of individual muscle fibers. These muscle fibers, sometimes called muscle cells, are long and cylindrical, running the full length of the muscle. They are among the longest cells in the body, and each one is wrapped in a delicate membrane called the sarcolemma, which serves as a kind of skin, enclosing and protecting its contents. Beneath this membrane lies a world of order. Inside each fiber are thousands of myofibrils, the thread-like strands responsible for contraction. These myofibrils are lined up in parallel, each one composed of repeating units called sarcomeres, the smallest functional unit of muscle. If you were to look at a sarcomere under a microscope, you would see a repeating pattern of light and dark bands, a striated appearance that gives skeletal muscle its striped look. These bands reflect the precise arrangement of two types of filaments, actin and myosin. Actin filaments are thin, delicate threads, while myosin filaments are thicker and have small club-shaped projections called myosin heads. These heads are the engines of motion. They reach out, attach to the actin, and pull, shortening the sarcomere in a smooth, coordinated movement. When many sarcomeres shorten together, the whole muscle fiber contracts. This process is known as the sliding filament mechanism. During contraction, the myosin heads bind to specific sites on the actin filaments and pull them inward. The filaments don't shrink or change size. Instead, they slide past one another. This motion draws the ends of the sarcomere closer together. The entire muscle shortens, creating the force necessary for movement. But this elegant motion requires fuel and control. Within each muscle fiber, energy is supplied by mitochondria, the cell's quiet power plants. These organelles convert nutrients, especially glucose and oxygen, into ATP, the molecule that powers contraction. The more active a muscle is, the more mitochondria it contains, each working tirelessly to supply energy without sound or sensation. Contraction is also governed by calcium not in the bones, but inside the muscle fibers themselves. A specialized structure called the sarcoplasmic reticulum, a network of internal tubes, stores calcium ions and releases them when the muscle receives a signal to contract. These ions bind to regulatory proteins on the actin filaments, shifting them just enough to expose the binding sites. Myosin heads then attach, and the sliding begins. The signal to begin this cascade comes from the nervous system, specifically from a motor neuron. Each muscle fiber is connected to a motor neuron at a site called the neuromuscular junction. When the neuron fires, it releases a chemical messenger, acetylcholine, into the narrow space between the nerve and the muscle. This triggers an electrical impulse in the sarcolemma, leading to calcium release, filament sliding, and contraction. But a single muscle fiber does not act alone. It is one part of a vast, harmonious network. Each motor neuron may control several fibers, forming what is called a motor unit. Some motor units control only a few fibers useful for delicate, precise actions such as moving the fingers or shaping speech. Others control hundreds of fibers, enabling large, powerful movements such as lifting or running. Surrounding and connecting all these structures is a web of connective tissue. The outermost layer, called the epimysium, encases the entire muscle. Within it, the perimysium wraps each fascicle, and even deeper, a tissue called the endomysium surrounds each individual muscle fiber. These layers not only protect the muscle, but also help transmit the force of contraction outward from fiber to tendon, from tendon to bone. When the muscle shortens, the tendon pulls, and the joint moves. A simple gesture, the lift of a hand, the turn of a head becomes possible through this finely layered structure, hidden beneath the surface, but active in every moment of motion. And like all parts of the body, this system is constantly renewing. Muscle fibers can grow larger with use of a process known as hypertrophy, and they repair themselves after strain, quietly mending tiny tears during rest. It is while you sleep that much of this repair occurs, with protein synthesis unfolding slowly, reshaping and strengthening the fibers for the next day's movements. So as you lie still now, your own muscles are not idle. They are softening, relaxing, recovering. They are absorbing the lessons of the day, adapting gently, storing energy, and preparing. In this way, each muscle becomes more than tissue. It becomes a memory of movement, a record of effort, a living part of you that listens to your intentions and shapes your actions. Let this picture settle in your mind, a bundle within a bundle, a thread within a thread, the muscles of your body woven in layers, each part working in harmony with the next. Their purpose is not to rush, not to strain, but to support, to balance, to respond, quietly, continuously, and with remarkable grace. When you are ready, we will explore how these fibers come to life, how calcium, energy, and microscopic motion create the gentle force we know as contraction. Part 5. How muscles contract, the sliding filament model. At the very heart of every movement, whether subtle or strong, conscious or automatic, lies a quiet and intricate process, muscle contraction. And though the act of lifting an arm or curling a finger might seem effortless, the cellular choreography that powers such motion is both precise and extraordinary. This process is known as the sliding filament model of muscle contraction. It is the means by which individual muscle fibers shorten, producing the gentle force that allows the body to move. To understand this, we must look again inside the muscle fiber, into the repeating units called sarcomeres, each a carefully arranged lattice of protein filaments. At the center of every sarcomere are two primary components, actin and myosin. These are long protein strands, actin forming the thin filaments, and myosin making up the thick ones. The myosin filaments resemble tiny oars or paddles with bulb-like projections known as myosin heads. These heads are the active agents of movement, capable of reaching out, attaching to actin, and pulling. In a relaxed muscle, the actin filaments are partially overlapped with the myosin ones, but the overlap is not yet active. The myosin heads are poised, waiting like rowers in still water, paddles raised, ready to pull, and then comes the signal. A nerve impulse arrives at the muscle fiber, traveling from the spinal cord through a motor neuron. At the neuromuscular junction, where the neuron meets the muscle, a chemical messenger called acetylcholine is released. This triggers an electrical wave that travels across the muscle cell's outer membrane, the sarcolemma, and down into tiny inward tunnels called tubules. This wave of energy reaches a specialized internal structure called the sarcoplasmic reticulum, a network of storage chambers holding calcium ions in reserve. Responding to the signal, this structure releases calcium into the surrounding space within the muscle fiber. These calcium ions then bind to a protein on the actin filament called troponin. This binding causes another protein, tropomyosin, to shift its position, uncovering tiny binding sites on the actin strand like doors slowly opening. The path is now clear for the myosin heads to act. Using energy from adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, the myosin heads pivot, attaching to the actin. Once secured, they perform a pulling motion called a power stroke, drawing the actin filaments inward toward the center of the sarcomere. This shortens the sarcomere itself, bringing the Z-lines, the boundaries of the sarcomere, closer together. This motion does not involve the filaments shrinking. Instead, they slide past one another. The more sarcomeres that shorten, the more the entire muscle fiber contracts. It is a process not of collapse, but of controlled overlap, a gentle folding in of force, organized and efficient. As long as calcium remains present and ATP is available, this cycle continues. Myosin releases, reattaches further along the actin, and pulls again. Each step of this microscopic dance moves the muscle a little more, shortening the fiber by a fraction of its length. And yet, this cycle is not aggressive. It is smooth, measured, and adaptable. It can produce a powerful contraction, as when lifting a heavy object or a delicate one, like holding a pencil. The body adjusts the number of muscle fibers recruited, the rate of cycling, and the degree of overlap, all in real time, based on need. Eventually, the signal ceases. The nerve stops firing. Acetylcholine is broken down at the neuromuscular junction, and the electrical wave within the muscle subsides. In response, calcium is pumped back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, an energy-dependent process. Without calcium in the fluid, the troponin-tropomyosin complex returns to its resting state, covering the actin's binding sites. The myosin heads, no longer able to attach, stop pulling. The actin filaments slide gently back to their original position, and the muscle relaxes. This relaxation is just as vital as contraction, a return to balance, a settling of tension, a restoration of stillness. This entire mechanism, invisible to the eye, happens in a fraction of a second. It repeats continuously across thousands of sarcomeres within every fiber of an active muscle, and it does so without conscious thought. The only thing you feel is motion, the smooth extension of a limb, the soft clenching of a fist, the rise and fall of your chest. Even in stillness, a low level of contraction often persists. Known as muscle tone, this slight activity helps maintain posture and readiness. It is especially important while sleeping, keeping the body aligned, stabilizing the head and spine, and supporting the breathing muscles that continue their work through the night. And though the muscles may contract often, they never tire easily. ATP is constantly regenerated through several processes, from the breakdown of glucose, stored in the muscles as glycogen, to the use of fatty acids and oxygen carried by the blood. The more a muscle is used, the more efficient it becomes at managing energy and waste. Yet, rest is essential. Repeated contractions can create microscopic wear in the muscle fibers, tiny tears that must be repaired. This healing process occurs mostly at night, during sleep, when growth hormone is more active and the body shifts its focus inward. Protein synthesis increases, inflammation subsides, the muscles quietly rebuild themselves stronger, more resilient, more attuned. So as you relax now, your muscles too are entering their state of rest. Their fibers, once active, are lengthening. The calcium has been returned to storage. The actin and myosin filaments have disengaged. The sarcomeres stretch back to their resting length, no longer pulling, no longer firing, just resting in balance. And yet, the memory of motion remains. Each contraction recorded, each signal learned, each movement preparing the body for tomorrow's gentle gestures to rise, to walk, to reach once more. In this quiet state, your muscles are not idle. They are restoring. They are preparing. They are quietly alive. Next, we'll explore the connective structures that help muscles do their work, the tendons that link them to bone and carry their silent force across the joints of the body. Part 6. Tendons and their role in movement. Beneath the skin, deep within the body's intricate machinery of motion, are slender cords that carry out a subtle but essential task. These are the tendons, firm, fibrous bands that link muscles to bones. Without them, muscle contraction would produce no movement at all. The force would simply have nowhere to go. Tendons act as translators between the language of muscle and the structure of bone. When a muscle contracts, it does not pull directly on the bone. Instead, the muscle shortens and pulls on its attached tendon. The tendon, in turn, transmits this force to the bone, guiding it through its arc of motion. In this way, tendons serve as the quiet messengers of movement, never initiating motion themselves, but always delivering it. Though small in size, tendons are incredibly strong. They are composed mostly of collagen, a fibrous protein arranged in densely packed strands. These collagen fibers run in parallel, forming rope-like cords that resist tension with remarkable durability. Their design allows them to stretch slightly just enough to absorb shock, but they do not extend far. This limited elasticity helps ensure that movement remains controlled, stable, and precise. Some tendons are short and direct, linking a muscle to a bone just a few centimeters away. Others are long and winding, threading through sheaths or wrapping around bony contours to reach their destination. In the fingers, tendons run through narrow channels lined with synovial fluid, allowing for smooth gliding as the hand opens and closes. In the foot and ankle, strong tendons support the arch and allow for the graceful rise and fall of each step. Perhaps the most well-known tendon is the Achilles tendon, found at the back of the lower leg. It connects the calf muscles, the gastrocnemius and soleus, to the heel bone, or calcaneus. This tendon allows you to rise onto your toes, push off the ground while walking, and absorb the impact of each landing. Despite its strength, the Achilles tendon can become strained with overuse, reminding us that even the sturdiest structures benefit from rest and care. Tendons are often housed in sheaths, narrow tubes lined with synovial membranes that secrete a thin layer of fluid. This fluid acts as a lubricant, reducing friction as the tendon slides back and forth. The arrangement is not unlike a cable running through a smooth tunnel, protected, guided, and allowed to move freely with minimal resistance. Where tendons meet bone, their collagen fibers interweave with the bone's surface, forming a deeply anchored connection. This junction is called the enthesis, a region where soft tissue becomes firm, where flexibility yields to strength. At this point, the force of muscle contraction is transferred with precision, initiating movement at the joint. And though tendons are quiet, they are not passive. They store and release energy with every motion. When you walk or run, tendons stretch slightly as the foot hits the ground, then recoil like springs, helping to propel the body forward. This elastic property makes movement more efficient, conserving muscular effort and reducing fatigue. But unlike muscles, tendons are less richly supplied with blood. Their healing process is slower, more gradual. This is why tendon injuries such as strains or tears often take time to mend. Recovery requires rest, gentle movement, and above all, patience. It is during sleep that tendons, like muscles, begin their slow repair, collagen fibers realigning, inflammation fading, strength quietly returning. Despite their simplicity, tendons play a crucial role in coordinating complex motion. Consider the hand, with its intricate array of tendons controlling each finger, or the eye, where tiny tendons anchor delicate muscles, enabling smooth and rapid shifts in gaze. Even the smallest gestures, a blink, a smile, a breath, depend on the efficient transmission of force through these fibrous cords. Tendons also work in harmony with their counterparts, the ligaments which connect bone to bone and help stabilize joints. Together, tendons and ligaments form the connective framework of movement, holding everything in place while allowing just enough motion for flexibility and function. Like all tissues, tendons adapt over time. With regular, gentle use, they become stronger and more resilient. Collagen fibers align more efficiently. The tissue thickens slightly, reinforcing itself against the demands of movement. But when overused or strained without rest, tendons can become inflamed, a condition known as tendinitis, characterized by stiffness, discomfort, and limited motion. Fortunately, the body is wise. It knows how to recover, how to rebuild. With time, hydration, and sleep, tendons restore themselves, not hurriedly, but steadily, one fiber at a time. As you rest now, your own tendons are quiet. No force is being transmitted. No tension is being held. And yet, they remain ready, woven into the muscle, anchored to the bone, prepared for the next contraction. the next gentle motion. Let this picture settle into your thoughts: the tendon, firm and narrow, bridging the living strength of muscle with the solid stillness of bone, neither initiating nor resisting, but transmitting, serving, holding the system together. This is the beauty of the body, that even in its most hidden structures there is design, there is purpose, and above all, there is cooperation. In our next part, we will turn to the joints, those gentle hinges, pivots, and gliding surfaces that make movement possible, and explore how they work quietly with tendons and muscles to create motion that is fluid, silent, and alive. Part 7. Introduction to joints, where movement happens. Motion begins not just in the muscle, and not solely through the pull of tendons. It finds its fullest expression at the places where bones meet, at the joints. These are the quiet hinges and pivot points of the human body, designed not only for movement, but for control. Every stretch, every turn, every soft rotation is guided by the architecture of joints. A joint, in its simplest definition, is the meeting point between two or more bones. But far from being a hard collision, this meeting is carefully arranged. Joints are shaped to provide both mobility and stability, and their structure varies depending on the type and range of motion they are meant to allow. Some joints barely move at all, others move with sweeping range. Many fall somewhere in between. We begin with the most immobile, the fibrous joints. These are found in areas like the sutures of the skull, where the bones are tightly bound by connective tissue. In these joints, the goal is protection and firmness, not motion. They do not shift, stretch, or bend. Instead, they provide a stable, protective shell, particularly for delicate structures like the brain. Next are the cartilaginous joints, where bones are joined by cartilage. These joints allow limited movement and are often found in places where flexibility and strength are both needed. The joints between the vertebrae of the spine, for example, are cartilaginous. Each vertebra connects to its neighbors through discs of fibrocartilage, allowing for gentle motion while absorbing shock, a slow, cushioning rhythm that lets you bend, twist, and sway. But it is the synovial joints that allow the most fluid and visible movement, the joints of the limbs, the jaw, the neck. These are the joints we use to reach, to walk, to dance. They are built for action, and they come in many forms, each suited to its specific role. A synovial joint is more than a simple hinge. It is a small, self-contained system, complete with fluid, cartilage, and connective tissue. The bones that meet here are covered at their ends with articular cartilage, a smooth, glassy surface that reduces friction and protects the bone. Between the bones is a narrow space called the joint cavity, filled with synovial fluid, a thick, slippery substance that lubricates the joint and nourishes the cartilage. Surrounding the joint is a joint capsule, a protective envelope made of fibrous tissue. Lining the inside of this capsule is the synovial membrane, which produces the fluid that keeps everything moving smoothly. Around the capsule, ligaments add strength, preventing the joint from moving too far or in the wrong direction. Each joint type allows a different kind of motion. The hinge joint, like the elbow or knee, allows movement in one direction, flexion and extension, much like the way a door swings open and closed. The ball and socket joint, as seen in the shoulder and hip, offers the widest range of motion, allowing the limb to rotate, swing, and circle freely. The pivot joint, like the one between the first and second vertebrae in the neck, permits rotation such as turning the head side to side. The saddle joint, found in the thumb, allows for back and forth and side-to-side movement, enabling the hand's dexterity. The condyloid joint, like the wrist, permits movement, but restricts rotation, offering flexibility with stability. The gliding joint, found between small bones in the wrist and ankle, allows bones to slide over one another in subtle, shifting movements. Though each joint is unique, they share a common purpose: to enable the body to move with both freedom and control. They balance motion with restraint. Too much flexibility could lead to instability. Too much stiffness would hinder motion. The joint exists precisely between those extremes: soft but strong, mobile but guarded. And yet, joints are not merely mechanical. They respond to use, to rest, and to age. With gentle motion, synovial fluid circulates more freely, nourishing the cartilage. This is why movement often feels easier after a few moments of walking or stretching. The fluid warms, the tissues respond. In contrast, long periods of stillness can leave joints feeling stiff. This is not a sign of damage, but simply a pause in circulation, a reminder that joints, like all living structures, thrive on balanced use and care. Over time, the tissues within a joint can change. Cartilage may wear thin, synovial fluid may diminish, ligaments may stretch or stiffen. These changes come with age, with activity, and with individual history. And while they may limit motion, the joints continue to serve, adapting, adjusting, offering what movement they can. During sleep, joints finally rest. The compressive forces of gravity ease. The articular surfaces gently separate, allowing cartilage to rehydrate. Synovial fluid moves slowly, bathing the joint in quiet nourishment. Ligaments soften slightly. Tension dissipates. It is a time of low pressure, low demand, a window for recovery. Some joints, like those in the fingers and neck, may still make small adjustments during sleep, shifting position in response to dreams or posture. Others remain still, suspended in calm alignment. As you rest, you may sense your own joints not with pain or pressure, but as peaceful points of connection. Your hips, gently supported, your shoulders, relaxed, your jaw, loose and quiet. These joints have held you all day, and now they soften into stillness. In this way, joints are not just mechanical hinges. They are moments of union, of one bone meeting another, of one movement leading into the next. They are the places where the body makes its choices: to move, to pause, to stretch, to settle. In the next part, we'll explore these types of joints in more detail, seeing how their shapes determine their movements and how the body adapts them for function, stability, and grace. Part 8. Types of joints. A calm classification. In the gentle stillness of the human body, joints serve as the points of passage where one part meets another, where bone meets bone, and where movement is made possible. These quiet connections come in different forms, each tailored to allow specific types of motion. The body, in its quiet wisdom, does not treat all joints the same. Instead, it shapes them to meet the needs of their location, whether that need is flexibility, strength, or a fine balance between the two. Let us now take a soft journey through the types of synovial joints, the most mobile and dynamic among the body's connections. Each is named for the shape of the bones involved and the kind of movement it allows. Together, they form a classification as elegant as it is functional, a calm geometry of motion. We begin with the hinge joint. This type of joint moves in just one plane, much like the hinges on a door. It allows for bending and straightening movements known as flexion and extension. The elbow is a classic example. So too is the knee. In both cases, the joint permits the limb to fold and then return to its extended position. This simplicity provides strength and clarity of movement, useful in bearing weight and performing deliberate actions. Next, consider the ball and socket joint. This joint offers the greatest range of motion. It consists of a rounded, ball-like surface of one bone that fits into a cup-shaped socket of another. The shoulder and hip joints are the body's primary examples. Within these joints, the limb can move in almost every direction: forward, backward, sideways, in circles, and in gentle rotations. This type of joint allows for expressive, fluid motion, such as reaching upward, turning outward, or swinging softly through space. Then there is the pivot joint, which allows for rotation around a central axis. This can be observed in the neck, where the first two cervical vertebrae, the atlas and axis, form a joint that allows the head to turn from side to side. It is a quiet rotational motion, not forward or backward, but a smooth twist. Another pivot joint exists between the bones of the forearm, the radius, and ulna, allowing the hand to rotate palm up or palm down. These motions, subtle but essential, reflect the precision of the pivot joint's design. We now come to the condyloid joint, sometimes called an ellipsoid joint. This joint allows movement, but restricts rotation. It permits the bone to move forward and backward, as well as side to side, 2 degrees of freedom. A gentle example is the wrist, where the radius bone of the forearm meets the carpal bones of the hand. You can move your hand in a circle, but not spin it fully, a quiet compromise between flexibility and restraint. Another refined structure is the saddle joint. Its name comes from the way the bones fit together, each shaped like a saddle, with one bone sitting atop the other at right angles. This type of joint allows for a wide range of motion, similar to the condyloid joint, but with a bit more freedom. It is found most notably at the base of the thumb, enabling the unique opposability of the human hand. Thanks to the saddle joint, you can touch the tip of your thumb to each fingertip, a delicate, intricate motion used countless times each day. Finally, there is the plane joint, also called a gliding joint. This joint involves 2 flat or nearly flat surfaces that slide past one another. Though the range of motion is limited, it allows for subtle shifts, smooth and quiet. These joints are found between the small bones of the wrists, carpals, and ankles, tarsals, as well as between certain vertebrae in the spine. Their movement is not grand, but it contributes to the body's fluidity, the gentle adjustments that support larger motions. Each joint type serves its own role, neither more important nor more complex than the others. Together, they form a seamless whole. They allow the arms to reach, the legs to stride, the hands to grasp, and the spine to bend. They offer not just motion, but control, carefully measured ranges, thoughtfully placed limitations, and reliable return paths to rest. It is worth noting that joints rarely act alone. Most are surrounded by ligaments, strong bands of connective tissue that link bone to bone and prevent excessive movement. Around many joints are also muscles and tendons, which actively create motion and help stabilize the joint during use. In this way, joints are never unsupported. They are part of a larger system, a harmony of structure and action. Even their limits serve a purpose. When a joint reaches the end of its range, it does not force its way further. It yields, it pauses, and it protects the body from harm. This self-regulating design is one of the body's quiet strengths, motion that respects its own boundaries. With regular, gentle movement, joints maintain their fluidity. The synovial fluid circulates. The cartilage remains nourished. The ligaments stay responsive. But when joints are overused, stressed, or undernourished, they can become inflamed or stiff. Conditions like arthritis remind us of the importance of balance, of not only using the body but caring for it. In sleep, joints find their reprieve. Compressive forces ease. The articular cartilage has time to rehydrate. Micro-adjustments occur as the body shifts subtly in bed. With each motionless hour, recovery unfolds not in bursts, but in steady increments, a quiet maintenance, performed without effort or sound. So as you lie still now, Think gently of your own joints, the ball and socket of your shoulder, the hinge of your knee, the gliding surfaces in your wrists and spine, all at rest, all in balance. They are the silent hinges of your daily life, faithfully bearing weight, supporting movement, and allowing you to express yourself in space. In the next part, we will explore one of these joint types more deeply, in the synovial joint, and see how its inner structures work together in a design both delicate and enduring. Part 9. The synovial joint, a model of graceful engineering. Of all the joints in the human body, the synovial joint stands out for its complexity, its fluid grace, and its quiet precision. It is the most mobile type of joint, allowing limbs to bend, rotate, and extend in smooth, coordinated ways. Found in the shoulders, hips, elbows, knees, wrists, and fingers, synovial joints are the foundation of movement as we know it, not by brute force, but by soft engineering, refined over millennia of human motion. To understand the synovial joint is to look closely at how the body solves the problem of mobility. How can two bones move against each other over and over without grinding, without damage, and without pain? The answer lies in a delicate layering of structures, each designed to support and protect, to reduce friction, and to guide motion. At the core of every synovial joint are the articulating bones, the bones that meet and move in relation to each other. Their surfaces are not left bare. Instead, they are covered in articular cartilage, a smooth, white tissue that cushions the bone ends. This cartilage is firm yet resilient, providing a low-friction surface that can withstand years of pressure and use. Beneath the cartilage, the underlying bone is shaped to match its counterpart, concave meeting convex, rounded heads fitting into shallow sockets, flat surfaces gliding across one another. These shapes help determine the joint's range of motion and direction, some allowing only flexion and extension, others permitting rotation and circular movement. Surrounding the joint is a joint capsule, a strong but flexible envelope that holds the entire structure together. The outer layer is fibrous, protecting the joint from dislocation and excessive strain. The inner layer is the synovial membrane, a delicate lining that produces synovial fluid, a viscous, golden liquid that flows gently through the joint cavity. This fluid is the lifeblood of the synovial joint. It lubricates the cartilage, reduces friction, and nourishes the tissues that lack direct blood supply. With each movement, the fluid is stirred, ensuring even distribution. With each period of rest, it seeps into the cartilage, rehydrating it. This quiet cycle of motion and recovery allows the joint to continue its work without wearing itself down. Some synovial joints also include menisci or articular discs, crescent-shaped pads of fibrocartilage that sit between the bones, helping to distribute pressure and improve fit. The knee joint, for instance, contains two menisci, one on the inner side and one on the outer, that cushion the femur and tibia and stabilize the joint during motion. At the sides of the joint are ligaments, strong bands of connective tissue that link bone to bone. These ligaments act as reins, limiting movement to within safe bounds. They do not create motion, but they define its edges, keeping the joint from moving too far, twisting too sharply, or bending in a way it was never meant to. In many synovial joints, small sacs known as bursae lie between tissues that might otherwise rub against each other, between bone and tendon, tendon and skin, or muscle and bone. These bursae are filled with synovial fluid and function like soft cushions, absorbing pressure and allowing parts of the joint to glide past each other with ease. There is also the role of tendons, which pass across or near the joint, connecting the surrounding muscles to the bones. When a muscle contracts, the tendon pulls on the bone, and the joint responds, opening, closing, rotating, or gliding. Though not a part of the joint structure itself, Tendons are intimately involved in the function of every movement the joint performs. Taken together, these components form a sealed, self-sustaining system. The joint is protected, lubricated, supported, and guided. Its movements are precise, its feedback immediate, its resilience quietly maintained. And all of this unfolds with such subtlety that, in daily life, we rarely notice it happening at all. Yet synovial joints are not invulnerable. Their tissues can wear with time, especially the cartilage, which lacks blood vessels and relies on synovial fluid for nourishment. Repetitive motion, injury, or inflammation can lead to discomfort, stiffness, or conditions like osteoarthritis, where the smooth cartilage wears thin and the bones begin to grate. But the body, when cared for gently, tends to its joints with quiet efficiency. Light, regular movement promotes the circulation of synovial fluid. Rest, hydration, and balanced use help preserve the health of cartilage and ligaments. During sleep, when the joint is unburdened, the fluid redistributes, the tissues relax, microstresses begin to resolve. The knees, for example, slightly bend, the spine decompresses, the shoulders soften downward. These subtle shifts reduce the compressive forces on cartilage and allow the joint to receive the full benefit of the nourishing fluid that surrounds it. In the silence of night, your synovial joints continue to serve. Though motion ceases, the processes of maintenance unfold: fluid exchange, tissue repair, inflammation reduction. The capsule holds gently, the ligaments settle, the cartilage breathes in quiet restoration. Perhaps you can feel one now: your shoulder, your wrist, your ankle resting calmly in its range, no longer pulled or pressed. The bones do not touch, the fluid flows softly between them, and the structures, for now, are at ease. Let this moment be a quiet tribute to design, to the synovial joint, which bears so much and asks so little. A structure that makes motion feel effortless, that protects while allowing freedom, and that endures through decades of use with remarkable patience. In our next part, we will explore the ligaments, the gentle guardians of the joints, and how they provide stability through their silent strength. Part 10. Ligaments, the guardians of stability. Within the quiet framework of the body's motion, there exist slender, silvery cords of strength tissues that hold firm while everything around them moves. These are the ligaments, the silent guardians of stability, woven into the architecture of every joint. Unlike tendons, which link muscles to bones and transmit movement, ligaments connect bone to bone, forming firm bridges across the joints. They do not pull, they do not contract, they do not initiate action. Instead, they hold, they resist, they guide. Their purpose is not to create motion, but to define its limits, to allow movement to occur, but only within safe, supported ranges. When you bend your knee, it stops at a certain point. When you twist your wrist, the motion gently ends. These limits are not arbitrary. They are enforced by ligaments, which softly restrain the bones from drifting too far. Ligaments are made mostly of collagen fibers, tightly packed and arranged in parallel or crisscrossed bundles. This gives them tensile strength, the ability to resist being stretched, yet they are not entirely rigid. Most ligaments possess a small degree of elasticity, which allows them to stretch slightly under tension, then return to their resting length. This gentle give, just enough, never too much, is what keeps joints both mobile and stable. Too much looseness, and a joint becomes unstable, vulnerable to dislocation. Too little, and it becomes stiff, unable to flex or adapt. Ligaments walk the line between these extremes, holding each joint in balance. Let us visit a few of these ligaments now, not as isolated structures, but as part of the living architecture of movement. In the knee, A complex and weight-bearing joint, four major ligaments work in harmony. The anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, and posterior cruciate ligament, PCL, cross one another in the center of the joint, forming a quiet X that stabilizes the forward and backward motion of the tibia beneath the femur. On either side, the medial and lateral collateral ligaments prevent the knee from buckling inward or outward. In the ankle, ligaments form a soft web that encases the joint, helping it support the body during walking, running, or quiet stillness. These ligaments resist the rolling or twisting that might otherwise lead to strain. When one misstep causes a sprain, it is the ligament that has been stretched or torn a reminder of how often they serve unnoticed until something goes awry. The shoulder, in contrast, is built for motion. Its range is wide, its movements many. To protect this freedom, the shoulder is supported by a group of ligaments and a network of muscles. The ligaments in this joint are more flexible, allowing for greater mobility, but they are also more vulnerable. The shoulder can dislocate more easily than the hip because its structural design favors motion over deep containment. At the top of the spine, where the skull meets the cervical vertebrae, tiny ligaments hold the head aloft. They allow for subtle tilts, rotations, and nods, while preventing excessive motion that could compromise delicate neural structures within. Even in the fingers and toes, small ligaments maintain alignment and prevent hyperextension. When you grasp an object or curl your foot into the soft arch of a stretch, it is the ligaments that shape the motion, holding the small bones in silent cooperation. Despite their strength, ligaments can be damaged, especially through sudden force or repeated strain. When a ligament is sprained, it has been stretched beyond its normal range. In minor cases, it may heal on its own, slowly, and with rest. In more severe cases, the fibers may tear partially or completely, requiring careful rehabilitation. Healing is slow because ligaments, like tendons, are poorly vascularized. They do not receive a rich supply of blood. Instead, they depend on nearby tissues and gentle movement to circulate nutrients and aid in repair. During sleep, this process quietly accelerates. Inflammation reduces. Collagen synthesis increases. Fibers realign. The ligament does not announce its healing, it simply does the work, layer by layer, through stillness. As we age, ligaments may lose some of their elasticity. They become stiffer, less yielding. But with gentle movement, walking, stretching, simple motions, their flexibility can be preserved. Like all connective tissues, they respond to use, care, and time. And there is something almost poetic about the role of ligaments. While the muscles perform, while the bones move, while the joints bend and shift, the ligaments simply hold steady. They are the background support, the quiet protectors. They do not move, but they make movement safe. At rest now, your ligaments are not under strain. The knee is bent just enough. The shoulders are low and loose. The spine lies in neutral. The ligaments relaxed, unpulled, are resting too. You may not feel them, but they are there, always, silent, strong, present in every gesture, every step, every moment you extend an arm or turn your head. And in sleep, they find their pause. They soften. They recover. They prepare to protect you again, tomorrow. In the next part, we'll gently explore the language of motion itself, the terms that describe how the body moves, flexion, extension, rotation, and more. Not as technical vocabulary, but as a flowing description of how joints and muscles come together to create the dance of human movement. Part 11. Flexion and extension, the language of motion. As the body moves, it does so not in chaos, but in rhythm, a quiet and deliberate unfolding of gestures shaped by muscles and joints. Each motion has a name, a direction, and a purpose. And while we may not often think of it this way, there is a gentle language of movement that flows through every action the body performs. These terms, flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, rotation, and circumduction, are not just labels. They are descriptions of how the body moves through space. Each one is defined by its relationship to a central axis, the invisible line that runs through the body's structure, dividing left from right, front from back, top from bottom. Let us begin, softly, with flexion. Flexion is the act of bending a joint. It brings two bones closer together, reducing the angle between them. When you bend your elbow to bring your hand toward your shoulder, you are performing flexion. When you draw your knee upward, curling it toward the chest, that too is flexion. It is a motion of gathering, of folding inward. In daily life, it appears in the quietest gestures, a nod of the head, a bend at the waist, a soft closing of the fingers around an object. Flexion is gentle, introspective. It draws the body inward, toward itself. Its counterpart is extension, the act of straightening a joint. Extension increases the angle between bones, returning them to alignment. When you straighten the elbow after bending it, or push your leg behind you in a slow stretch, you are engaging in extension. Extension is the motion of reaching outward, of elongating. It opens the body, lengthens the lines, and balances the closing nature of flexion. Together, flexion and extension form a quiet cycle. Bend and release, curl and lengthen, gather and open. Next we come to abduction and adduction, two motions defined by their direction in relation to the body's midline. Abduction is the act of moving a limb away from the center of the body. When you raise your arm to the side, like opening a pair of wings, or spread your fingers apart, each motion is an abduction. The word comes from Latin, meaning to carry away, and indeed it feels like a gentle unfolding, a movement outward into space. Adduction is the opposite, drawing a limb closer to the midline. When you lower your raised arm back to your side, or bring the fingers together again, you are performing adduction. It is a returning motion, a soft restoration of closeness, of alignment. Abduction and adduction are not dramatic. They do not require force. They unfold in balance, parting and rejoining, expanding and returning. They appear in walking, in stretching, in the subtle sway of the body during rest. Then there is rotation, a twisting motion around an axis. Rotation can be internal or external, depending on the direction. When you turn your head side to side, when your spine twists gently from the waist, when your hip or shoulder rolls in its socket, all are forms of rotation. In internal rotation, the limb turns inward, toward the body's midline. In external rotation, it turns outward, away from the center. These motions allow the body to shift perspective, to adjust alignment, to find new orientation in space. Consider the shoulder joint, which allows the arm to rotate freely. When the palm turns from facing up to facing down, this too is rotation, quiet and subtle, yet deeply essential. And finally, there is circumduction, a graceful, circular motion that combines all the others. In circumduction, the limb moves in a slow arc, tracing a soft circle in the air. The arm swings gently in a loop. The leg circles outward from the hip. It is not pure rotation, but a combination, flexion, abduction, extension, and adduction, flowing into one continuous movement. Circumduction appears in swimming, in dance, in the reaching gestures of the upper limbs. It is a fluid, expressive motion, often used when the body explores space beyond the immediate. There are other, more specific terms in the vocabulary of motion: elevation, lifting upward, depression, lowering downward, protraction, moving forward, retraction, drawing back. The pronation and supination of the forearm, which turn the palm down and up, respectively. The quiet roll of the ankle, inward or outward, known as inversion and eversion. But all of these terms, though clinical in nature, describe something poetic: the body's relationship to itself and to space. They are not commands. They are observations, descriptions of how the bones, muscles, and joints move as one. And through this language, the body expresses more than mechanics. It expresses need. It expresses intention. A stretch is not merely extension, it is release. A curl of the arm is not only flexion, it is drawing inward, perhaps in comfort or in rest. In sleep, these motions soften. The limbs lie in partial flexion, not fully straightened, not tightly bent. The spine holds its curves. The shoulders roll slightly forward. The joints rest in neutral positions, supported by gravity and the surface beneath. But even in dreams, the body remembers this language. Small shifts occur. A leg extends, then returns. A hand opens slightly, then closes again. These are echoes of motion, traces of the day's activity, playing out in the quiet of night. As you rest, your body continues to speak in these gentle terms. It stretches, settles, aligns. It moves not for performance, but for comfort, not in bursts, but in rhythms. And it listens, always, to the language it has known since birth, the language of motion. In the next part, we'll begin a calm tour through the major muscle groups of the body, not as lists to memorize, but as living regions of strength and support, each contributing its voice to the quiet symphony of human movement. Part 12. Major muscle groups of the body. Beneath the surface of the skin, the human body is organized into regions, soft landscapes of movement, shaped by groups of muscles working in quiet unison. These muscle groups are not isolated. They speak to one another across the span of the body, supporting posture, guiding motion, and adapting gently to every task we ask of them. In this part, we'll take a calm and thoughtful tour through the major muscle groups, beginning at the top of the body and moving downward. We will not rush. Instead, we'll pause at each region, taking in its form, its purpose, and its quiet contribution to the fluid motion of daily life. Let us begin at the head and neck. Here, small yet important muscles shape expression, support the skull, and allow subtle movements of the jaw, eyes, and mouth. The occipitofrontalis, spanning the forehead and back of the scalp, raises the eyebrows and wrinkles the brow. Around the eyes, the orbicularis oculi allows you to blink softly, while the orbicularis oris encircles the lips, guiding speech, a smile, or the closing of the mouth. At the sides of the neck, the sternocleidomastoid muscles stand like soft cables. These paired muscles rotate the head, tilt it to the side, or pull it gently forward. Deeper still, the scalenes and suboccipital muscles fine-tune head position and aid in breathing. Even in rest, these muscles maintain posture, lifting, supporting, aligning. We now move to the shoulders and upper back, where layers of muscle cradle the upper spine and connect the arms to the trunk. The trapezius, a broad, kite-shaped muscle, spans from the neck to the shoulders and down to the mid-back. It lifts and stabilizes the scapula, the shoulder blade enabling shrugging, tilting of the head, and subtle shifts in posture. Beneath it, the rhomboids pull the shoulder blades inward, helping maintain upright alignment. On the outer edge of the shoulder is the deltoid, a thick, triangular muscle responsible for lifting the arm in nearly all directions. Whether raising the arm forward, to the side, or behind, the deltoid guides the motion with strength and precision. Continuing into the arms, we find the muscles that extend from shoulder to hand, allowing for reaching, grasping, and holding. At the front of the upper arm, the biceps brachii flexes the elbow and turns the palm upward, actions as simple as lifting a cup or curling into a gentle hug. Opposing it, the triceps brachii, at the back of the arm, extends the elbow, straightening the arm once more. Both muscles work not in competition, but in rhythm. In the forearm, dozens of smaller muscles control the fingers, wrist, and hand. The flexors and extensors, named for their roles, enable you to grasp, release, write, or play. Even the smallest gestures, the tapping of a fingertip or the resting curve of the hand, are supported by these quiet, tireless muscles. Turning now to the chest, we find the pectoralis major, a broad fan-shaped muscle that draws the arm across the body and aids in lifting. Beneath it, the pectoralis minor helps stabilize the scapula and supports movements of the rib cage during breath. The chest muscles work closely with those of the back, particularly the latissimus dorsi, a large wing-like muscle that spans the lower back and sides. It helps extend, adduct, and internally rotate the arm, the strength behind a swimming stroke or a steady pull. Deeper still, the erector spinae group runs vertically along the spine, maintaining posture and allowing the trunk to extend and rotate. These muscles support not only the back, but the very core of the body's upright form. And at the center of the torso, we find the abdominal muscles, soft panels of strength that protect, stabilize, and flex the body's core. The rectus abdominis, often visualized as a vertical column, bends the spine forward. The external and internal obliques, lying diagonally, assist in twisting and side bending. Beneath them all lies the transverse abdominis, the deepest layer, a gentle corset that holds the abdomen inward, supports the spine, and regulates pressure during breath, speech, and movement. Together, these muscles of the core do far more than support motion. They anchor it. They provide stability in stillness and balance in action. Moving downward, we reach the hips and thighs, a region of strength, endurance, and grounded motion. At the front, the quadriceps femoris, a group of 4 powerful muscles, straightens the knee and lifts the leg forward. These muscles, including the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedius, bear much of the body's weight with every step. At the back, the hamstrings, 3 long muscles, flex the knee and extend the hip. They include the biceps, femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. These muscles work with their counterparts, balancing the motion of walking, running, or gently rising from a seated position. The gluteal muscles, forming the shape of the buttocks, are among the strongest in the body. The gluteus maximus extends the hip, while the gluteus medius and gluteus minimus stabilize the pelvis, especially during one-legged stance or walking. Though powerful, these muscles are also graceful. They move the body upward, forward, and across. Continuing into the lower legs, we find the gastrocnemius and soleus, forming the calf. These muscles point the foot downward, a movement known as plantar flexion, essential for walking, climbing, and maintaining balance. At the front of the shin lies the tibialis anterior, which lifts the foot, a motion called dorsiflexion. Without it, walking would become clumsy, the foot unable to clear the ground in stride. Finally, in the feet, small intrinsic muscles help maintain the arch, guide the toes, and adjust the shape of the foot during movement and rest. They do their work quietly, supporting balance and absorbing shock with every step. From head to toe, these muscle groups form a continuous network. They do not act in isolation. They assist, stabilize, and complement one another. When one moves, another anchors. When one contracts, another lengthens. This partnership is what allows the body to move with fluidity and ease. And as you rest now, each of these muscles settles into stillness. The shoulders release, the hips soften, the spine lengthens gently against the surface beneath you. The muscles are no longer contracting. They are yielding, recovering, preparing for the quiet work of another day. In the next part, we'll explore the role of the spine and core in posture, how alignment and muscular balance support the body's graceful stance, even in moments of complete stillness. Part 13. The spine and posture, a quiet balance. In the stillness of your body, as you lie at rest, one structure continues to hold quiet vigil, long, curved, and central to your form. This is the spine, also known as the vertebral column. More than a pillar of bones, the spine is a delicate balance of support and flexibility. It holds the body upright by day, cradles the torso in sleep by night, and quietly adjusts to every shift in posture. The spine is the central axis of the musculoskeletal system, the core upon which balance, alignment, and motion all depend. It extends from the base of the skull to the pelvis, composed of 33 vertebrae, stacked one upon the next, each separated by soft cushions of cartilage called intervertebral discs. These discs provide shock absorption, allow flexibility, and maintain space for the nerves that pass through the spine's hollow center. Though made of bone, the spine is not rigid. It curves gently in 3 regions, forming a natural shape when viewed from the side. This shape is key to its function. Each curve helps distribute weight, absorb force, and maintain equilibrium during movement and rest. At the top is the cervical curve in the neck, which arches slightly forward. This allows for the balancing of the head, a weight that may seem light, but which requires continuous support. Below it, the thoracic curve, located in the upper back, bows gently outward, accommodating the rib cage and protecting the heart and lungs. And in the lower back, the lumbar curve returns inward, again a strong, supportive region that bears much of the body's weight during standing and lifting. These curves are subtle, quiet arcs that together form a resilient column. They are maintained not only by bone, but by the surrounding muscles and connective tissues, which work together to preserve the spine's gentle alignment. Posture, then, is not about stillness alone. It is a living balance between muscular tone and skeletal structure, a quiet negotiation between force and release. Good posture allows the body to stand or sit with ease, without strain, without unnecessary effort. The deep spinal muscles, particularly those of the erector spinae group, run along either side of the vertebrae. These muscles maintain the spine's upright position, adjusting subtly to keep it aligned. They do not pull hard or force movement. Rather, they provide a gentle lift, a slow, continuous readiness. At the front and sides of the body, the abdominal muscles assist, not by pushing, but by supporting. The transverse abdominis, the innermost layer, acts like a corset, drawing inward to stabilize the lower spine. Above it, the obliques and rectus abdominis offer additional support, helping to prevent excessive arching or tilting. The pelvic floor muscles below and the diaphragm above complete this quiet core. Together, they form a soft cylinder of support, a stable center from which all movement radiates. When these muscles are in harmony, the spine rests in its natural curves. The head balances lightly on the neck. The shoulders settle without tension. The hips align with the knees and ankles. No part of the body must overwork to hold the posture in place. Instead, there is balance, a sense of upright ease. But posture is not only important when standing. It matters in sitting, walking, and sleeping. In each case, the muscles of the spine and core adjust their tone to support the body's form. During sitting, the pelvis should rest in neutral alignment, not tip too far forward or backward. The spine should maintain its curves, and the shoulders should remain relaxed. When the posture is upright but not forced, the muscles work with the bones, not against them. This reduces fatigue, prevents strain, and supports quiet focus. In walking, posture is dynamic. With each step, the spine shifts gently, rotating through the shoulders and hips. The arms swing, the head remains level. The core engages lightly, stabilizing the movement from within. A healthy gait is smooth and rhythmical, guided by the spinal curves and supported by balance. Even in sleep, posture plays a role. When lying down, the spine seeks alignment. In a well-supported position, the natural curves are preserved. The muscles relax. The joints decompress. The discs rehydrate. Side sleeping, with a pillow between the knees, or lying on the back with support under the knees, often helps maintain this quiet symmetry. When posture is poor, when the head drifts forward, the shoulders round, or the lower back arches too deeply, the muscles must work harder to hold the body up. Over time, this leads to fatigue, tension, and imbalance. But gentle awareness and movement can restore the alignment. The body is adaptable. It listens. It changes. Good posture is not stiffness. It is not forced or held. It is easeful balance. It is the feeling of being quietly lifted not by effort, but by structure and tone. It allows the breath to flow. It allows the joints to move freely. It allows the body to rest without pain. And in rest, that posture is still maintained not with strength, but with softness. The deep muscles stay faintly active, enough to keep the spine supported, even as sleep deepens. This postural tone is gentle. It does not interrupt rest. It preserves it. As you lie quietly now, your spine finds its way back to center. The vertebrae stack softly. The discs settle. The muscles let go not completely, but enough. The body recognizes its alignment. It remembers balance. It restores it. Perhaps you feel it, the length of the neck, the curve of the lower back, the widening of the shoulders, the neutral tilt of the pelvis, all in calm relation, all gently supported. This is posture in its most restful form, not an effort, but a return to the body's natural design, a quiet balance, a centered ease. In the next part, we'll explore how the joints and muscles are cared for over time through daily motion, nourishment, and gentle habits that preserve joint health and longevity throughout the lifespan. Part 14. Joint Health and Longevity. As the body moves through time, its joints, those quiet connectors that enable motion, experience the ebb and flow of use, rest, and renewal. These meeting points of bone, cartilage, and fluid are not fixed structures. They are living tissues, responsive to the rhythms of life. And like all living things, joints benefit from care, attention, and balance. Joint health is not preserved by stillness alone, nor is it strengthened by excess. It is nurtured through gentle consistency by allowing the body to move regularly, rest deeply, and receive what it needs to repair and sustain. Each joint in your body is a space of movement and interaction. Within that space, the smooth articular cartilage that covers the bones requires nourishment, yet cartilage has no blood supply of its own. Instead, it is sustained by the gentle circulation of synovial fluid, which flows in response to motion. When you move, when you bend a knee, rotate a shoulder, stretch a wrist, the joint is compressed and released in a rhythm that resembles quiet breathing. This motion encourages synovial fluid to move across the cartilage's surface, bringing in oxygen and nutrients, carrying away waste, and keeping the tissue supple. Without this gentle movement, the fluid grows stagnant. The cartilage becomes less hydrated, less flexible. This is why joints may feel stiff after long periods of inactivity, such as sitting or waking from sleep. A few slow motions, a roll of the shoulders, A rise and stretch are often all that is needed to restore their softness and ease. In this way, daily movement, even if modest, plays a vital role in joint longevity. Not intense strain, not heavy impact, but simple, deliberate motion. Walking, gentle stretching, slow cycles of flexion and extension, these maintain the rhythm that joints rely on. Another important element is muscle balance. Muscles and tendons surround the joints, providing both motion and support. When the muscles are strong, flexible, and symmetrical, they help protect the joint from uneven forces. But when one side becomes dominant, too tight, or too weak, it can create imbalance, pulling the joint out of alignment. Maintaining joint health, then, involves more than the joint itself. It is a collaboration between structure and support. A well-aligned spine, steady hips, strong knees. These are sustained not just by bone, but by the surrounding muscles that gently hold them in place. Hydration is another quiet key. Synovial fluid is composed largely of water. When the body is well hydrated, the joints are more pliable, better cushioned, and more resilient to daily wear. Water also aids in transporting nutrients to cartilage and in maintaining the elasticity of ligaments and tendons. A nutrient-rich diet also supports joint longevity. Foods that are high in omega-3 fatty acids, such as flax seeds and oily fish, may help reduce inflammation. Vitamin C, essential for collagen formation, supports the integrity of ligaments and cartilage. Calcium and vitamin D strengthen the bones that meet at each joint, and antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables help combat the oxidative stress that can lead to tissue breakdown over time. Over the years, joints inevitably change. Cartilage may thin, ligaments may become less elastic, the production of synovial fluid may decrease. These changes are a natural part of aging, but they do not always lead to discomfort or loss of function. With care, joints can remain smooth, mobile, and reliable deep into later life. Rest is just as important as movement. After periods of use, joints require time to settle, to decompress, and to repair. During sleep, the weight is lifted, the joint spaces widen slightly, cartilage absorbs fluid like a sponge, inflammatory markers fall, healing begins. This nightly restoration is subtle, but essential. Certain practices can further support joint longevity. Maintaining healthy weight reduces the load on weight-bearing joints, like the hips, knees, and ankles. Even small changes in body mass can make a meaningful difference in joint pressure. Mindful posture and balanced gait prevent uneven strain. Footwear that supports alignment, not too soft, not too rigid, allows the joints of the foot and ankle to move as nature intended. For those with conditions such as osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or previous joint injuries, these practices become even more important. But they are not only for moments of repair, they are part of a larger philosophy of gentle preservation, caring for the body not only to perform, but to endure. Joints speak quietly. They do not clamor for attention until something feels off. But if we listen, if we observe the ease or discomfort of motion, we can often sense what is needed. Perhaps more movement, perhaps more rest, perhaps the stillness of a supported position or the relief of a slow stretch. And in times of stillness, like now, the joints receive a different kind of care, a pause from pressure, a release from compression. The articular surfaces separate slightly, the fluid redistributes, the surrounding tissues soften. The joint, often active all day, finally enters a state of complete ease. Perhaps you can feel at your knees at rest, not bent or bearing weight. Your shoulders, no longer raised or rotated. Your hips, supported, their ligaments slackening. This is joint rest, not just the absence of motion, but a state of quiet support and calm renewal. When you wake and rise and move once again, these joints will be ready. They will remember the stillness. They will respond to the motion. And they will continue faithfully the soft work they have always done. In the next part, we will turn to the muscle's state of rest, exploring muscle tone, and how even in sleep, the body maintains a quiet readiness that supports alignment, function, and peace. Part 15. Muscle tone and rest, the power of stillness. As the day fades and the body surrenders to rest, something remarkable happens beneath the surface. Muscles, those soft engines of motion, shift from effort to ease. They no longer contract with intensity. They no longer lift, push, or pull. And yet, they do not fully switch off. Instead, they settle into a quiet state known as muscle tone, a gentle hum of readiness that persists even in sleep. Muscle tone, or tonus, refers to the low-level tension present in muscles when they are at rest. It is not a sign of exertion or strain, but of subtle activity, just enough contraction to maintain posture, support joint alignment, and prepare the body for motion. Even in the stillest of moments, the muscles remain softly alert, providing structure without movement. This tone is regulated not by conscious choice, but by the nervous system, particularly by reflex pathways in the spinal cord. These pathways send tiny continuous signals to muscle fibers, keeping them slightly contracted. The result is a gentle resistance to stretching, a quiet tension that holds the body's form. In the waking state, muscle tone is slightly higher. It helps maintain upright posture, supports the curve of the spine, and balances the head above the shoulders. Without muscle tone, the body would slump, unable to hold itself against gravity. It is this subtle, sustained contraction that allows us to remain aligned without constant thought or strain. But as the body moves towards sleep, muscle tone begins to change. In the early stages of rest, the tone decreases gradually. The shoulders drop, the jaws loosen, the spine softens into the bed beneath it. The muscles of the face, neck, and limbs release their tension. Movements slow, then cease. Breathing becomes quieter, slower, deeper. By the time the body enters deep sleep, most skeletal muscles are significantly relaxed. They are not fully flaccid. They still maintain enough tone to keep the joints in safe alignment, but their activity is greatly reduced. This reduction conserves energy, allows for cellular repair, and prevents unnecessary motion. Then, in REM sleep, the phase associated with vivid dreaming muscle tone decreases even further. In fact, during this stage, the body enters a state of temporary paralysis known as REM atonia. This safety feature prevents the body from acting out dreams, keeping the limbs still while the mind explores vivid inner worlds. Only a few muscles remain active in REM: the diaphragm, which drives breathing; the extraocular muscles, which move the eyes behind closed lids; and certain postural muscles that maintain the airway. All others rest, held in stillness by the brainstem's quiet command. But even during sleep, some level of tone remains, a minimal activity that preserves alignment, supports the skeleton, and allows for immediate response upon waking. Should a sound stir the senses or a shift in position be needed, the muscles respond without hesitation. This constant state of gentle preparedness is what keeps the body both relaxed and resilient. Over time, healthy muscle tone is shaped by use. Regular motion, strength, and stretching all influence the baseline tension that muscles hold. A well-toned muscle is not necessarily bulky. It is responsive, balanced, and quietly strong. It supports motion without resistance. It holds posture without fatigue. When tone becomes too low, a state known as hypotonia, the muscles may feel soft, weak, or floppy. This can affect posture, coordination, and stability. Conversely, when tone is too high, Hypertonia muscles may feel stiff, tight, or resistant to movement, even at rest. Neither extreme serves the body well. The goal is balance, a natural, moderate tone that adapts to both action and stillness. Stress can affect muscle tone, often without us realizing. Tension in the jaw, shoulders, or lower back may persist, even when we think we are at rest. Over time, this chronic tone can lead to discomfort. But with soft awareness, breathing, and conscious release, the muscles begin to let go. The nervous system, in turn, learns that rest is safe, and the body adjusts. Sleep is the body's greatest opportunity for muscular reset. During these hours, damaged fibers are repaired, proteins are synthesized, inflammation decreases, growth hormone is released. The body does not simply stop, it rebuilds, recalibrates, and renews. This repair is especially important after activity. When muscles have been used, stretched, or strained, sleep provides the environment they need to restore themselves. Collagen is formed, micro tears are healed, energy stores are replenished, and through it all, the quiet pulse of tone remains not forceful, but sustaining. As you lie quietly now, your own muscles are entering this state. The tone is just enough to keep your spine aligned, your limbs positioned gently, your breath supported. You are not limp nor tense. You are simply held by your body's design, by your nervous system's care, by the balance you have nurtured over time. You may notice the soft weight of your body, the way the back of your arms rests against the surface, the way your legs lie in quiet alignment. You are not making these choices consciously. Your muscles are holding you softly, wisely, without effort. This is the power of stillness, not emptiness, but subtle action. The kind of action that restores rather than consumes, that builds instead of breaks, that prepares the body not just for sleep, but for everything that comes after. And when you wake, you will rise not with sudden force, but with this same gentle support. The muscle tone will increase slowly, the limbs will reawaken, and your body will be ready, not rushed, but restored. In the next part, we will explore how the body changes with time, how muscles and joints evolve through the lifespan, and how the grace of movement remains, even as the body grows older. Part 16. Aging and Movement, the Changing Body. As seasons pass and years unfold, the human body, ever adapting, ever responding, begins to change. Movement, once effortless, may become slower. Muscles soften, joints grow stiffer. But within these quiet transformations lies not loss, but evolution, a natural shift toward a gentler rhythm, a quieter strength. The musculoskeletal system, like every part of the body, reflects the passage of time. Each decade brings subtle adjustments, reshaping how we stand, how we walk, and how we move through the world. These changes are not abrupt. They are gradual, cumulative, and deeply personal. A reflection of history, use, and care. Let us begin with the muscles. As we age, muscle tissue undergoes a process known as sarcopenia, a slow reduction in muscle mass and strength. This begins gently in midlife and becomes more noticeable in later decades. The fibers shrink. The number of motor units, the nerves that control them, may decline. The muscles respond more slowly, tire more easily, and recover more gradually. Yet, even as they diminish, muscles do not disappear. They remain responsive to movement, to resistance, to care. In fact, regular use, even in simple forms, can slow or even partially reverse these changes. Walking, lifting modest weights, stretching, and mindful motion all send signals to the muscles to adapt, to grow, and to maintain tone. Muscles in aging bodies often become less pliable, more prone to stiffness. But this too can be softened. Gentle activity, not aggressive or forced, but consistent keeps the tissues elastic. It encourages circulation, warms the fibers, and restores the sense of ease in motion. Next, consider the joints. Over time, the smooth cartilage that cushions the joints may wear thinner. Synovial fluid may decrease in volume or become less viscous. Ligaments may lose some of their elasticity. These changes can lead to joint stiffness, especially after periods of rest or inactivity. The spine may begin to curve more deeply in the upper back, a condition called kyphosis, or lose some of its lumbar curve, affecting posture and gait. In the hips, knees, and hands, joints may feel more tender. Motion may seem limited, the range not as wide or fluid as before. But still, the joints can remain functional, stable, and pain-free, especially when cared for gently. Movement nourishes them. Stillness, though restful, must be balanced with activity. As we've seen, every movement, no matter how small, encourages the circulation of synovial fluid, hydrates the cartilage, and keeps the joint space healthy. Posture, too, evolves. With age, postural muscles may weaken, the shoulders may round forward, the head may shift slightly ahead of the spine. Balance may be affected. As proprioception, the body's sense of position, becomes less acute. But none of these changes are inevitable in their most extreme forms. With awareness and support, posture can be preserved, and in some cases, gently improved. Flexibility may also decline as connective tissues stiffen, but again, the body responds to what it's given. Slow, intentional stretching, practiced regularly, keeps the tissues supple. Yoga, Tai Chi, water exercise. These are not only accessible to aging bodies, but often ideal, offering motion without strain, balance without instability. Beneath the surface, the bones themselves undergo change. Bone density tends to decrease with age, particularly in women after menopause. This can lead to conditions such as osteopenia or osteoporosis, where the bones become more fragile. But bones, like muscles, are living tissues. They respond to weight-bearing movement, walking, climbing stairs, even standing by, rebuilding and reinforcing their structure. Nutrition remains essential. Calcium and vitamin D support bone health. Protein supports muscle repair. Omega-3s ease inflammation. Water sustains tissue hydration. A well-fed body, even in later life, holds the tools to heal and renew itself. And beyond the physical, there is the grace of motion in age, the rhythm that does not vanish, but softens, the strength that may no longer lift heavily, but which carries endurance, wisdom, and control. In many ways, the quality of movement deepens. Gestures become more intentional. Movements are made with care, not urgency. The body learns how to conserve effort, how to avoid strain, how to move with softness rather than speed. There is a beauty in the gait of an older person, a quiet dignity, a measured pace, a subtle wisdom of balance. The body, having moved through years of life, knows itself better. It trusts the rhythm it has come to embody. Sleep, too, may change. The body may rise earlier. The depth of sleep may shift. But the restorative cycles still occur. Muscles still repair. Joints still recover. The work of healing continues, silently, through every stage of life. And while injury or illness may touch the body more easily with age, the capacity for recovery, adaptation, and resilience remains. Movement, though different, is still possible and often even more meaningful. Let us not think of aging as decline, but as transformation. The body becomes something new, not less capable, but differently capable. With a slower pace comes a deeper presence. With less force comes more grace. With more rest comes better recovery. And so, as you rest now, Perhaps in the quiet of evening or the early hours of dawn, your own body is adapting. The muscles are softening, the joints are supported, the spine is settling. The process of change is always unfolding and always shaped by care. The body you inhabit tomorrow will remember the rest you offer it tonight. It will remember the gentle movements, the quiet support, the stillness filled with presence. In our next part, we'll turn gently inward to the nervous system and how it communicates with muscles to orchestrate motion, both voluntary and unconscious, in perfect, silent coordination. Part 17. The nervous system's role in motion. Beneath every stretch, every quiet shift, every movement of the human body, there is a signal silent, invisible, but essential. This signal originates in the nervous system, the body's vast communication network. It is here, in the gentle pulses of nerves, that motion begins not with muscle, but with intention. The nervous system is the body's internal messenger. It is made up of two main parts: the central nervous system, consisting of the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, a branching network of nerves that extends throughout the body, reaching every muscle, joint, and organ. To move even a single finger, a quiet exchange must take place. A thought formed in the brain's motor cortex becomes a signal. This signal travels down the spinal cord, through a motor neuron, and into the muscles of the hand. When it arrives, the muscle responds by contracting. The motion is carried out, and all of it happens in the blink of a moment, without effort or noise. This is voluntary motion, guided by will, shaped by experience. It is the wave of a hand, the turn of the head, the quiet rising of the chest in breath. But motion is not always conscious. The nervous system also governs involuntary movement, the kind we do not direct but rely on constantly. Consider the act of walking. Though it may feel simple, it involves a complex sequence of muscle activations, joint movements, and sensory feedback. Much of this is regulated not by thought, but by spinal reflexes and automatic programs stored deep within the brain. These patterns are learned in childhood and refined over time. Once established, they run quietly in the background, allowing you to walk without thinking, even as your mind drifts elsewhere. At the heart of this system are motor neurons, nerve cells that connect directly to muscle fibers. Each motor neuron controls a small group of fibers, known as a motor unit. Some motor units are large, controlling powerful muscles that move the legs or back. Others are small, governing the fine control needed to write, speak, or play an instrument. When a motor neuron fires, all of its connected fibers contract together. The brain adjusts the number of motor units activated and how quickly they fire to shape the force and smoothness of the movement. This is how the body produces both powerful motions and delicate gestures by modulating signals with exquisite precision. But movement also requires feedback and awareness of position, tension, and change. This comes from sensory nerves, which carry information back to the brain about what the body is doing. These nerves monitor stretch, pressure, vibration, and temperature. They tell the brain whether the foot has touched the ground, whether the elbow is fully extended, whether balance is steady. One special form of sensory feedback is known as proprioception, the body's internal sense of position. Proprioceptors are found in muscles, tendons, and joints. They tell the brain where each limb is, how fast it is moving, and how much force it is generating. This system allows you to close your eyes and still know the shape of your body, to reach for an object without looking, to adjust posture without thinking. Together, the sensory and motor systems form a loop: action and response, motion and feedback, constantly updating and adjusting. Even a small movement, like shifting your weight while lying still, is guided by this loop. The body senses the pressure, the muscles adjust, the new position is confirmed. This loop is also responsible for reflexes, fast, automatic responses that protect the body. If you touch something too hot, the hand withdraws before you even feel pain. If the knee is tapped, it jerks forward in a simple spinal reaction. These reflexes bypass the brain, occurring at the level of the spinal cord. They are fast, protective, and essential for safety. At night, when the body rests, the nervous system shifts into a different mode, one of restoration. The parasympathetic branch of the nervous system takes over, guiding the body into relaxation. Heart rate slows, blood pressure falls, the breath deepens, muscle tone decreases, the mind settles. This restful state is supported by the autonomic nervous system, which manages functions we do not control: heartbeat, digestion, temperature regulation, and more. Even while you sleep, this system keeps the body running smoothly, adjusting as needed to maintain balance. In dream sleep, the nervous system becomes active again, but the body remains still. This is REM atonia, the temporary paralysis that keeps muscles from moving during vivid dreams. The brain sends signals, but the spinal cord suppresses them, protecting the body from acting out dreams while allowing the mind to wander freely. The nervous system is, in every way, the conductor of the body's movement. It reads, adjusts, and communicates constantly, silently. When movement feels smooth and effortless, it is because the nervous system is doing its job. When we feel clumsy, slow, or stiff, the signals may be less coordinated, but even then, the system is trying, adjusting, responding. Over time, the nervous system changes. Reflexes may slow, reaction times may lengthen, but plasticity remains the brain's ability to learn, to rewire, to recover. With practice, even aging nerves can find new patterns. With rest, even overworked systems can regain balance. As you lie still now, your nervous system is quietly tending to you. Tiny signals maintain your posture. Your diaphragm continues to rise and fall. Your heart beats in calm rhythm. Your muscles soften. Your thoughts drift. Perhaps you can sense this not as activity, but as presence. A quiet hum of life. A body not frozen, but resting. A system not idle, but gently alert. The nervous system is always there in every breath, every blink, every motion and stillness. It is not loud. It does not announce itself, but it listens. It responds. It heals. And in our next part, we'll explore how this system continues its subtle work even during sleep, guiding the tiny, involuntary movements that occur throughout the night. Part 18. Movement in sleep. Subtle patterns of the resting body. As the body drifts into sleep, outward motion gradually fades. The limbs become still. The breath deepens. The muscles surrender their effort. But sleep is not complete stillness. Beneath the surface of rest, the body continues to move quietly, rhythmically, purposefully. These are the subtle movements of sleep, tiny adjustments and reflexive shifts that help maintain comfort, support circulation, and protect the sleeping form. They are not directed by conscious thought, nor remembered upon waking. They unfold naturally, guided by the deep intelligence of the body itself. In the early stages of sleep, as the muscles relax and the nervous system slows, movement becomes limited but not absent. The head may nod slightly, the shoulders may shift, a leg may stretch and settle again. These motions are not planned. They are the body's way of finding balance, seeking out the most comfortable, supported position. As sleep deepens, muscle tone continues to decrease. The limbs lie more heavily. Joints rest at neutral angles. The spine decompresses, subtly lengthening as gravity is gently released. But even in this state, the body makes small corrections. These are often known as postural adjustments, unconscious changes in position that relieve pressure, restore circulation, or ease muscle fatigue. A hand may turn palm up, a foot may rotate outward, the pelvis may tilt slightly. These shifts are slow, almost imperceptible, but they serve a quiet purpose: to maintain homeostasis, a state of internal equilibrium where all systems operate in harmony. Beneath these movements, the nervous system remains lightly active. Sensory nerves continue to monitor the position of the limbs, the feel of the surface, the temperature of the air. If pressure builds in one area on the shoulder, the hip, the side of the face signals are sent, prompting the body to shift. These are not awakenings, but micro-responses, tiny acts of self-care that unfold without waking the mind. In some cases, these movements are visible: the slow roll to a new side, the gentle pull of a blanket. In others, they are barely noticeable: a twitch of a finger, a subtle turn of the neck, a change in breath. Each one helps protect the tissues, circulate blood, and maintain comfort throughout the night. These motions are especially important during REM sleep, when most of the body's muscles are temporarily paralyzed, a state called REM atonia. During this phase, the brain is highly active, producing vivid dreams and rapid eye movement, yet the limbs remain still, a protective mechanism to prevent the acting out of dreams. Still, not all muscles are silenced. The eyes continue to move behind closed lids, scanning scenes from the dream world. The diaphragm and intercostal muscles continue the rhythm of breath. The tiny muscles of the inner ear respond to sound. And in some cases, small twitches may appear in the face, hands, or feet. Brief, isolated pulses of motion, known as myoclonic twitches. These twitches are harmless. In infants, they may help wire the motor system, connecting brain activity with physical sensation. In adults, they may be a vestige of this developmental process, fleeting, involuntary expressions of the brain's nocturnal rhythms. Over the course of the night, the body moves through sleep cycles, each lasting about 90 minutes. With each cycle, the depth of sleep changes, and the patterns of movement shift accordingly. In deeper stages, movement is minimal. In lighter stages, the body may stir more freely. This helps prevent prolonged pressure on any one area, reducing the risk of stiffness or discomfort upon waking. In dreamless sleep, known as slow-wave sleep, the body enters its most restful state. Here, movement is rare, muscles are relaxed, the heart rate slows, and the body focuses on repair. Growth hormone is released, tissues are restored, the immune system resets. It is during this phase that the body truly rebuilds. In between cycles, as the brain moves briefly toward wakefulness, the body may shift position, rolling from one side to another, adjusting the limbs, pulling a blanket higher. These movements are not disruptions. They are part of sleep's natural flow, helping the body find continued ease. For some, movement during sleep becomes more pronounced. Conditions such as restless leg syndrome or periodic limb movement disorder can cause repetitive motion, particularly in the legs. These conditions arise from complex neurological signals and may affect sleep quality. Yet even in these cases, the body is doing its best, responding to signals, seeking relief, trying to rest. Children, too, often move more during sleep. Their nervous systems are still developing. Their sleep is lighter and more active. They may shift, turn, or even sit up briefly, returning to rest without fully waking. These patterns usually soften with age, giving way to more stillness in later life. But some movement remains even in the deepest rest. The heart beats, the lungs expand, the stomach churns softly, the cells exchange nutrients, the eyes scan dreams. The body breathes and adjusts and heals, all without waking you. And when morning comes and the body begins to rise, it does so gently, Muscle tone returns. The joints realign. The limbs stretch in response to growing signals from the brain and spine. The nervous system becomes fully alert. The body prepares once more for motion. But during the night, it was never truly still. It moved in softness. It moved in care. It moved not to perform, but to protect. Not to express, but to sustain. So as you lie quietly now, know that even your stillness is alive with gentle motion. A breath, a shift, a heartbeat. These are not interruptions. They are part of the body's deep conversation with itself. A conversation that continues in silence, in rhythm, in peace. In the next part, we will explore how the mind's awareness of movement, even without action, can shape the body's strength and coordination. This is the quiet science of imagined movement, where thought alone becomes a form of practice. Part 19. Imagining movement, a mind-body connection. There are times when the body is still, yet something deeper continues to stir, not in the muscles, but in the mind. In this quiet space, the brain can rehearse motion without making a sound, without moving a single limb. This is the world of imagined movement where thoughts of motion shape the body's systems in real and meaningful ways. It may seem surprising, but the brain does not always distinguish between doing and imagining. When you picture yourself lifting an arm, walking through a room, or stretching the spine when you truly focus on that image, many of the same neural pathways are activated as if you were performing the motion itself. This phenomenon is known as motor imagery. When you visualize a movement clearly, the motor cortex, the region of the brain that plans and executes voluntary motion, becomes active. So too do the premotor areas, which sequence and coordinate actions. Even the spinal cord may show subtle activity, preparing the nerves to respond, despite no signal being sent to the muscles. It is as if the body listens in quietly as the mind rehearses the steps of movement. Studies have shown that athletes, musicians, and dancers often use motor imagery to refine their performance. They rehearse routines in the mind, every gesture, every motion, and the body learns, as if it had performed those actions. Brain scans reveal increased activity in the same regions used during physical training. Over time, performance improves. Coordination becomes smoother. Muscle memory is built, not just through doing, but through imagining. But this practice is not limited to experts. It is a tool available to all, and one that holds gentle power, especially for those recovering from injury, illness, or periods of stillness. In physical rehabilitation, motor imagery can support healing. When a limb is immobilized in a cast or recovering from surgery, imagining its movement helps preserve neural connections. Muscles may weaken, but the brain's map of motion remains intact. When recovery begins, the path back is smoother. Even in the elderly, where mobility may be limited, mental rehearsal of simple movements, rising from a chair, walking across a room, stretching the arms, can support balance and confidence. It is not a replacement for motion, but a preparation for it, a soft signal that says, this is possible. The science of this connection is rooted in neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt. When we imagine a motion with focus and clarity, we are not daydreaming. We are shaping the nervous system, strengthening synapses, preparing the mind and body to act with grace and confidence. This practice is especially powerful in the moments before sleep. As the body settles into stillness, the mind remains open, not racing, but gently aware. In this state, a few minutes of calm visualization can influence how the body feels and moves upon waking. You might imagine the spine lengthening, the hips loosening, the shoulders softening. You might picture yourself walking with lightness, breathing with fullness, resting with comfort. The body responds. Heart rate slows, muscle tension eases. Patterns of coordination stored deep in the brain are gently activated, readying the system for motion when morning comes. Even imagining strength can make a difference. In some studies, participants who visualized contracting muscles without actually doing so experienced small but measurable increases in strength over time. Their bodies adapted not through exertion but through mental engagement, through attention and intention. This connection between thought and motion extends beyond exercise or recovery. It is present in daily life. When you anticipate rising from bed, the brain begins sending preparatory signals. When you think of reaching for something, the arm may begin to move before you consciously decide to act. This is the essence of the mind-body link, not as a metaphor, but as a physiological reality. The body listens to the mind responds to the body, and between them is a continuous conversation, soft and sustaining. As you lie still now, you might gently invite this practice into your rest. Without moving, imagine the toes curling, then releasing. Picture the ankles rolling slowly, the knees bending and extending. Let your attention trace the shape of the spine, long, supported, softly curved. Imagine your shoulders drawing down, the chest opening, the breath deepening. These are not commands. They are images held softly in the mind's eye. You might envision walking through a quiet landscape, each step steady and smooth. You might imagine reaching toward the sky in a gentle stretch, then folding inward into stillness. These imagined movements do not disturb your rest. They deepen it, offering the body a blueprint of comfort and control. And when the morning comes, and your body returns to motion, those patterns remain. The muscles remember. The nerves respond. The alignment you pictured becomes easier to find. The strength you imagined begins to build. This is not magic. It is biology. It is the nervous system responding to attention, the muscles responding to memory, the body responding to thought, and it all begins in stillness. So as you rest here, know that your stillness is not passive. It is alive with quiet intelligence. Your mind is not drifting aimlessly, but shaping the pathways of motion. Each imagined gesture is a whisper to the body, a message of preparation, of healing, of gentle strength. In our final part, we will return to the full picture, the harmony of muscles and joints working together, and close with a soft reflection on stillness, support, and the quiet miracle of movement. Part 20. Closing reflections. Stillness in the body's design. In the gentle hush that surrounds you now, the breath slow, the body still, the room quiet, the deeper rhythms of your body continue, steady and unseen. The muscles rest, the joints release, the nerves quiet their signals. Yet within this stillness there remains structure, presence, and harmony. Throughout this journey, we have explored the elegant systems that make human motion possible. The muscles that pull and shape, that lift and cradle, and the joints that open and rotate, that glide and steady. Together they form a living framework, not fixed or rigid, but fluid and responsive, capable of both strength and softness. We began with the orchestra of movement, learning how bones and muscles, tendons and ligaments act in concert. Each motion, each gesture, is not the work of one part alone, but of many elements aligning and assisting a collective effort without sound or spectacle. We traveled through the body's structure from muscle fibers and sarcomeres to cartilage and synovial fluid, discovering how even the smallest parts play their role in the whole. We saw how motion begins with signals from the brain and flows outward, through the nerves into the limbs. We learned how breath, tone, and balance are maintained, not through force, but through subtle and continuous cooperation. And now, in this moment of rest, you carry that knowledge not in the way one remembers a fact, but in the way one carries a rhythm, the rhythm of the body's natural intelligence, the rhythm of quiet movement and thoughtful stillness. You have felt how muscle tone supports the body even in sleep, not through effort, but through readiness. You have heard how joints nourish themselves with each soft motion, and how tendons and ligaments hold everything in place, guiding movement with precision and restraint. You have imagined movement, and in doing so, gently shaped your body's capacity to move. You have rested, and in resting, allowed the systems of strength and support to restore themselves. What remains now is not instruction, but reflection. To move is human, but to move with awareness, to understand and respect the systems within this, is something deeper. The muscles do not exist only for action, they also allow for stillness. They hold the spine upright during quiet moments. They breathe life into a gentle posture. They shape the very way we inhabit space. And joints, often overlooked, are the places where that motion becomes possible. Each joint is a meeting point, a hinge of trust between two parts. It offers motion, and then quietly holds the body as it returns to rest. The body's design is not rushed. It does not force. It adapts. It listens. It heals. And it does all of this beneath your awareness, with a kind of silent loyalty that asks for nothing but care in return. In stillness, the body does not stop. It recovers. The muscles absorb the lessons of the day. The joints receive their nourishment. The spine gently resets. The nervous system rebalances. The rhythm slows, but it never ceases. And now, as your own body lies supported, the arms at ease, the hips soft, the spine long and unburdened, you may feel that harmony, not as something to chase, but as something always present, always waiting. Motion and stillness are not opposites. They are part of the same whole. One prepares the other. One restores the other. And in that cycle, effort and ease, activation and release, the body finds its home. So rest now, deeply. Trust in the quiet work that continues beneath the surface. Your body knows how to move. It knows how to be still. It knows how to support you through both. Let the final moments of this exploration be soft. Let the breath flow naturally. Let the muscles remain at ease. Let the mind drift. There is nothing more to do. The journey has been made, not by force, but by presence, not by steps, but by attention. You are held not by effort, but by design. And in that design, there is peace.